How are you guys? Welcome back to Wargame in China. And you know what this channel's about. I platform my understanding of the War of Resistance from 1931 to 1945. And I do this mainly for wargamers, but for anybody who likes a bit of obscure history, or indeed anybody who's interested in China from the period 31 to 45. So, what you're looking at here is the Krupp 7.5 centimeter mountain gun Model 03. Now, you may know this gun by other names, because indeed, during its production years, it did come under various names depending on who ordered it. But in China, it was called MO3. Now, at the beginning of the 20th century, China had very few roads. It had were narrow paths with ancient bridges that were not capable of bearing the weight of large, heavy field guns. This made mountain guns, or pack artillery, a logical choice for the old Chinese Imperial Army. Although for the most part the Chinese used draft animals to tow these guns, as mules in China are rather smaller than their Western counterparts. So in 1903, the imperial government ordered 257 of these 257 of the 7.5 centimeter L14 mit Roa Uk Klawa. They arrived from 1904 to 1912. 1912 was the last delivery. Now the MO3, as it would be known, the Chinese designated the gun as the MO3, but it and the Chinese copies would be known as the Type KE mountain gun. That's capital K, lowercase e, mountain guns. So K mountain guns. The guns themselves, both the German and the Chinese copies, would undergo many detailed changes during production. Now, the Jiangning Arsenal in Shanghai started production in 1905. By 1928, they had built 494 and were still making 6 a month. I think production went on until about 1935. I'm not sure about that. This gun was still in common service until 1945. By this time, many were worn out and only good for direct fire with their ranges down to 3,000 meters. They served mainly as, by this stage of the war, they were serving mainly as infantry guns. Now, if we look at the Krupp 75mm mountain gun, it was designed in 1900, and as I said, the design had detailed changes throughout its production life, but I like to give it something to compare to. So we'll compare it to the 65mm Italian mountain gun that was designed in 1913. So the Krupp gun weighed 420 kilos and the Italian mountain gun weighed 556 kilos. The elevation on the Krupp was minus 10 to positive 25 degrees, but on the later Italian gun it was minus 10 to positive 22 degrees. Traverse was 4 degrees for the Krupp and 8 degrees for the Italian 65mm. The muzzle velocity for the Krupp was 300 meters a second, and for the Italian gun it was 345 meters a second. The range of the Krupp guns when they were new was 4.7 kilometers, but as we know, as I've said, as they got older the ranges wore down, accuracy wore down. The guns were pretty clapped out by 1945, or most of them were. The Italian gun, so the range on the new Krupp guns when they were new was 4.7 kilometers. The range of the Italian guns was 6.8 kilometers. Now, neither of these guns are any good for anti-tank work because they don't fire a solid shot projectile. The Type K, or the MO3, the 75mm Krupp, fires HE or shrapnel shells, whilst the Italian gun only fires shrapnel. So there we go. The Italian gun's from a company called Middleton in Italy. Fabulous company. Great to deal with. Beautiful models. So getting back to the 75mm mountain gun. So because it was in service for so long and in production for so long, this army served with many warlord armies too. And as you can see here, I've got it serving with my Guangxi clique forces, and I've got it serving with my Northeastern Army forces. So this is a very good gun to field as an infantry gun with your warlord forces or any Chinese forces. As I said, they made lots of them. By 1937, there was probably still about 200, over 250 in service, and the number dwindled. As I said, by the end of the war, maybe it was about 150 in service. But as I said, they did soldier on. Now, one thing about the Jiangnan arsenal guns. Now, the Jiangnan arsenal guns were about 20% heavier than the Krupp-made guns, and the reason for this is the steel. The steel of the Chinese-made guns was not as good a quality. It was heavier. As I said, by 20%, the gun was 20% heavier at least. I shouldn't say at least, it was 20% heavier. It weighed, this gun, as I said, weighed 420 kilos. The copies weighed 510 kilos. So, you know, a hell of a big weight difference there. Also, but because of the steel being such a low quality, the rate of fire of the guns would drop dramatically. If we looked at the German-made guns with good steel, the rate of fire is about 6 rounds a minute. Now, I would suggest that if you tried that with the Jiangnan arsenal guns, you wouldn't want to keep that rate of fire very long because of how quickly and how hot the guns became. So quick. The guns became hot very quickly, and it was often the case that a shell might explode before you managed to close the breach. So this was a gun that you had to be very careful with, or as a war gun you have to be very careful with. You don't allow it to be firing at every turn of the game. If you're going to allow that, you know, does the gun self-destruct? So there you go, the 75mm Krupp, or 7.5cm Krupp. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you press like. I hope you subscribe. Oh yeah, what are these made out of? Okay, I think I discussed this the other day. So these are wheels from the spares box. The gun shield is cardboard. The gun cradle and the barrel are from the Hat Ottoman artillery, and the gun tail, if you can see that, I don't know if you can see that very well, because I can't really see the camera. The gun tail is from the Airfix Opel Blitz truck. So I mentioned these guns in the other video, but I thought I'd give you more of a heads up on them, because if you are going to make your own Chinese army, they are a pretty simple gun to make. If you are going to 3D print something, it would be a pretty good gun to start with. So there you go, M1903. See ya.